2 million years ago, deep in the rocky cradle of what we now call South Africa, 4 individuals lived, thrived, and died, leaving only teeth behind. Teeth that would sit in silence for over 2 million years, until now, because those teeth just spoke, and what they revealed could change the story of human evolution forever. Welcome to the ancient world of Paranthropus robustus, a mysterious cousin in our human family tree, a hominin species that has puzzled scientists for decades. Stocky, bipedal, big jaws, small brains, and now, thanks to revolutionary techniques, no longer silent. In a study published on May 29, 2025 in the journal Science, an international team of researchers used a groundbreaking technique called Paleoproteomics to analyze tooth enamel from fossilized remains found in Swartkrans cave, located in South Africa's famed cradle of humankind. And what they uncovered, biological sex, surprising genetic variation, and the possibility of a forgotten lineage, has turned decades of assumption on its head. Swartkrans cave isn't just any archaeological site. Nestled in a limestone-rich valley about 40 kilometers northwest of Johannesburg, this cave system has produced hundreds of hominin fossils over the decades. It sits within the UNESCO-designated cradle of humankind, a vast fossil-rich landscape that has yielded some of the most important clues to our shared origins. What makes Swartkrans exceptional isn't just the quantity of fossils, it's the context. This cave preserved not only ancient teeth and bones, but an entire ancient ecosystem. Here, our ancestors and evolutionary cousins may have huddled for warmth, crafted tools, scavenged or hunted, and perhaps even buried their dead. The fossils unearthed from this site whisper stories of survival in a world before Homo sapiens ever existed. The 4 fossil teeth analyzed in this study date back roughly 2.2 million years, a time when our evolutionary family tree was sprawling with possibilities. Multiple hominin species roamed southern Africa, including early Homo, Australopithecus, and robust forms like Paranthropus. Recovering ancient DNA from African fossils is notoriously difficult. Heat, moisture, and microbial activity conspire to break genetic material down over time. That's why so much of what we know about ancient human relatives comes from cooler climates: Siberia, Europe, the Altai Mountains, where DNA can survive in frozen caves for tens or hundreds of thousands of years. But in Africa, the true cradle of our species, those molecular windows have remained largely shut. That's where paleoproteomics steps in. Proteins, particularly those embedded in hard structures like tooth enamel, can outlast DNA by hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. They are molecular survivors, capable of preserving biochemical data long after the genetic code has faded. In this study, scientists extracted proteins from 4 fossilized teeth. The focus was on amelogenin, an enamel-specific protein that exists in slightly different forms in males and females. That tiny difference allowed researchers to determine the biological sex of individuals who lived over 2 million years ago. Leading this remarkable effort were researchers Claire Koenig, Palesa Madupe, Ioannis Patramanis, and protein biochemist Dr. Enrico Capellini from the University of Copenhagen. Together they opened an entirely new window into our past. Paleoanthropologists have long relied on physical characteristics like the size of teeth or robustness of the jaw to guess at the sex of ancient individuals. It's always been a shaky method. Males tend to be larger, yes, but size overlaps exist, and environmental pressures can also influence morphology. That's why this study is such a revelation. One fossil, long assumed to be from a female due to its modest tooth size, turned out to be male when tested through protein sequencing. Another individual, whose molar size would suggest a male, was biologically female. It's a complete reversal of earlier assumptions. And it matters, because estimating the sex of ancient individuals is more than taxonomy. It tells us about the division of labor, reproductive strategies, group dynamics, and evolutionary pressure. It gives us insight into how these early humans lived, moved, and even raised their young. As Dr. Paul Constantino from St. Michael's College remarked, being able to accurately identify the sex of fossils using proteins will be hugely impactful. That's not just an academic victory, it's a transformation in how we study early humanity. The researchers didn't stop at sex determination. They also compared the protein sequences among the 4 individuals and discovered something deeply unexpected. One of the fossils had a protein profile that stood apart, molecularly distinct from the rest. This divergence could suggest regional variation, a previously unknown population, or even a separate species altogether. If confirmed, this could mean our understanding of Paranthropus robustus as a single uniform species is incorrect. Instead, it might have consisted of multiple genetically diverse groups, some isolated, others interbreeding, forming a dynamic evolutionary mosaic. It also raises a thrilling possibility. Might this protein variation reflect hybridization with another hominin? Could ancient humans have shared not just landscapes but genes with yet unnamed relatives? Every answer leads to more questions. This study is a milestone for paleoanthropology. The use of ancient proteins in warm climates gives researchers a new tool to revisit countless fossils across Africa and beyond. Collections that were previously dismissed as genetically inaccessible may now be treasure troves of hidden information. And while DNA gives us a direct line to genetic ancestry, proteins offer something just as valuable. They reflect the physical processes of life. How enamel formed, how bones hardened, how individuals developed. This isn't just molecular archaeology, it's biochemical storytelling. Dr. Capellini emphasized that this technique could eventually be applied to Australopithecus afarensis, Homo habilis, and even species we haven't named yet. It turns every fossil tooth into a potential repository of evolutionary memory. The process wasn't careless. The scientists used minimally destructive sampling, taking just a few milligrams of material, less than the width of a fingernail. It's a compromise that balances the need for discovery with the responsibility of preservation. Fossils aren't just data, they're cultural and scientific heritage. Every action taken with them must weigh the future against the present. This study shows it's possible to do both, preserve the past while decoding its secrets. Paranthropus robustus has often been portrayed as an evolutionary dead end, a line that went nowhere. But maybe that view was too simplistic. Maybe instead of a cul-de-sac, it was a wide side road, one that ran alongside early Homo, intersecting, diverging, merging, and splitting again. The results of this study suggest P. robustus was not just physically robust, it was biologically diverse, socially complex, and possibly a player in the evolutionary story, far more significant than previously thought. In the end, it wasn't a skull or a tool or a fire pit that changed the story. It was a tooth. A sliver of enamel hardened in a world of predators, droughts, and shifting savannas. That tooth held secrets for over 2 million years, secrets no human eyes had seen, no human ears had heard, until now. With each fossil, each breakthrough, we draw closer to understanding where we come from, not just biologically, but narratively. We are, all of us, chapters in an ancient book still being written. These proteins may be microscopic, but their impact is monumental. They carry the voices of individuals who once lived, breathed, fought, and died, never knowing that one day the microscopic details of their existence would speak louder than bones. If you're fascinated by human origins, ancient mysteries, and the frontiers of science, don't miss what comes next. Because if a single tooth can rewrite a chapter of our past, just imagine what the rest of the fossil record still holds. Subscribe, stay curious, and join us as we continue uncovering the forgotten truths of who we are.